Name's Kirk Allen, Kansas Township Supervisor. I'm a retired Air Force vet.
We'll be in Kansas later on tonight.
Okay. I've got some issues in regards to the health care bill. I'd like to go through these. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I appreciate your support of voting no on that. Have you had a chance to read the bill yourself?
I haven't read the bill 3 times. I've read certainly portions of it. For me to stand in this audience and tell you I read every one of the 2,700 pages, page by page, would be a lie. I've read enough of the bill to know, and I've certainly analyzed it in great depth to know that it's a terrible piece of legislation. I'm not going to insult your intelligence and tell you I've spent the last 3 months reading the bill page by page. I haven't done that.
Well, I appreciate that. I haven't read the whole bill. I'm up to page 2,100. And 2 issues that have stuck out like a sore thumb to me, and I want to bring them to you as well as expose them to everybody else. Under Section 203, the Commission, Corps, and Ready Reserve that this President wants to form. It's very brief and doesn't give a lot of detail what the purpose of that is. But specifically, the President shall be the one appointing the officers for that Ready Corps. And I quote, sir, "All commissioned officers shall be citizens of the United States and shall be appointed without regard to the civil service laws and compensated without regard to the Classification Act of 1923. Without regard to civil service law. We have basically passed a bill that gives him dictatorship. That needs to be addressed. It goes on, as you go through the Classification Act, every portion of it from 1923, there were 5 designated areas in that act. Congress is responsible for maintaining pay rates. Pay rates are set in law, and legislative action is required to change them. Fast forward to 1950 through 1978. Congress continues to control pay costs through the appropriation process. Now, in 1978 Civil Service Reform Act, the executive branch attains greater responsibility for designing, not just administering, pay systems.
So what you're saying is this bill, by that, evades the civil service protections we have.
Completely. Basically, Congress continues to lose its power to the executive branch. Yet, still in current law, Congress continues to hold the power of the purse by appropriating funds for federal payroll expenditures under current law. When they say that he can establish compensation without regard to the law, how can they circumvent what is already in place without repealing that law?
That I'm aware of. I agree with you. I would say that we talked earlier, just alluded briefly, what can be done at this point. One of the things that can be done short of the ability to repeal it, because as long as Obama's in the White House, he's going to veto any effort to try to repeal the bill anyway. But we still do have the appropriating power, and I think you're going to see, assuming, of course it's a big assumption, assuming there's control in the Senate and the House, the right consensus, so to speak, I think you can defund significant portions of it. So I think you've raised a good issue there.
Well, I hope that from a talking point standpoint, when they pass a bill that says without regard to the law, that should scare the hell out of everybody.
Well, let me just point out to you, we lost. I lost.
I understand.
The debate's over. In Congress, there's not going to be any debate. They won't allow any debate. For the end of, they didn't allow any debate this time. They didn't allow any input from our minority at all. So the ball's in your court, and your court, and your court, and your court, because we have elections coming up. And your points are good ones, and I agree with you. So the preacher talking to the congregation. But now we're going to see whether people are going to put their votes where their mouth are.
Now, my second issue that I've come across, and there's many, but 2 in particular, on page 2037, Section C, protection of Second Amendment gun rights is in the health care bill. Yes, and I'm looking at some eyes and some shocked people. Did you know that was in there? And I don't know your background, sir. I'm assuming it's a legal background. The words may and the word shall have a very distinct meaning.
Yeah, I understand. What is it regarding NRA? Gun rights?
The title is Protection of Second Amendment Rights. May not require the disclosure or collection of any information relating to gun possession, firearm or ammunition possession, residence on the property, or individual use of firearms. May, yes sir it is. May not. May means they may not, but they may. That's a legal definition. It goes on through 3 separate sections. The limitations on data collection. may not, shall not, and then they use the word or in the paragraph, so they can use two parts of that paragraph. The entire process goes through the fourth section of that.
You give me a lot of reasons to do what I already did. You vote no, right?
Well, absolutely, and I'm doing this for two benefits here. One, to make sure that you're aware of some very important issues, and two, we as people need talking points to address, because how many new gun rights were in this bill? I didn't until I started sitting down and reading a little bit at a time. Limitation on database or data banks. In this bill, it's very, very wiggly that they can do that. In Section 4 of it, a premium may not be increased. Health insurance coverage may not be denied, and it may not be reduced.
Would you want to leave?
I'll be more than happy to.
Because I think probably some other people have some questions. I don't think we want to go over.
And I'm done with that. But my biggest point with that, and I hope it scares everybody. They felt the need to put an amendment, a Second Amendment right that we already are protected under the Constitution by. Why didn't they put our First Amendment right in there? And we need to ask that question.
That's a good point.
We are already protected, and the reason they put it in there is not in our best interest, and that is my opinion.
I would agree with you. I think that's well put. Yeah,
I yield my time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Make sure, Matthew, I want to make sure that you get a copy of that, because we'd like to see it.
Yes,
I
sir.
did a pretty thorough job, but as I said in introduction, I would be less than honest if I said that I read every single page of the 2,700 pages. We got a lot of